Hello everyone, Scott here. I want to talk about the monitor from my Apple IIc. Now, I don't have one of the fancy original 9-inch monitors for this guy, unfortunately, but what I do have is one of these. It is a 3.5-inch monitor meant to be used for a backup camera in a car. They run off 12 volts, have composite input, have a 4:3 aspect ratio. Actually, they have two composite inputs. And they run off of 12 volts because they're made for a car, and they are very easy to modify for 5 volts, but we don't have to worry about that here because you get 12 volts right out of that port there. Anyway, so if you buy one of those and you tear it open, this is what you get. So it has this LCD screen, a ribbon cable. This is a broken one, by the way, and the driver board. If you just tap onto one of these lines here somewhere, one of these, you can put in 5 volts. Basically, it takes 12 volts in, and then it steps it down to 5, and then it uses that. So it's easy to convert it. Lots of documentation on the web if you search for it. Anyway, so I took this and I modeled up and printed this little bracket here, which let me see if I can put it in really quick. There we go. So basically it holds everything together so that the monitor isn't all flopping around everywhere. So there we go. So it looks pretty nice. So where does that bring us with this? So I found a 3D model for one of the cool monitors and scaled it down so that the display opening was 3.5 inches. Perfect for this little guy. But I didn't like that the size of it was too big. There's a lot of empty space because I only need, that much space. Well, first thing I did was I shortened the whole back because originally it went back to here, and I was like, well, that's just a waste of 3D printer filament. So I shortened that down. I think I printed one out at the long size, but I can't find it. And then I looked at the front bezel and went, well, that's ridiculous. Forget about that. Let's just make that a lot smaller. And let's figure out how to put it on there. Well, you get the idea. Oh, there it is. It's hard to see on the other side of the camera. So now I ended up with this, and this is pretty good. The problem is that this space here was originally made to go around this on the full-size one, but I don't need to do that. It's sitting on top. So then I took a step back and I modeled this one. So it would sit on your on top of the computer like this, give you a nice amount of access, or you want, you can put it the other way around so it looks a little nicer. And I purposely made it high enough that you can get a nice amount of angle in it, or you can just, well, usually there's little pins here, but I have them out for this. So you could lay it flat for storage, which I thought that I didn't model in this angle here. It just kind of worked out this way. It's really kind of neat. Anyway, so I had a few different versions of this. Here's one of the test ones I did using some other filament. It's the same exact thing, but this was after I got some beige-ish filament, but as you can see, it's not the right color. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Okay, so we have this. So what I wanted to do was to make it so that I could plug it in to the back of the computer really easily. Oh, one thing really quick. This is a black and white color switch I added. I'll have another video on these little backpacks that I made because they're pretty handy. Basically, backpack looks like this. This one is, I had a mistake. I put the tooth in the wrong direction, but they basically fit into these little slots here, and gives you a place to mount another switch. Oh, and no, I didn't make any holes to do it. That wire is just coming out through that serial port. I'm getting off track. So, one of the things I thought was, hey, why don't I make it so that I can mount it right onto here? Because the problem with the other foot is that it slides, and I like having this angled up. But if I put this here, then I can mount the monitor right there on that, and that would be great. I mean, just assume for a moment that this has the pins in it, which incidentally look like this, and it would hold itself up. But the problem is that even though I put this little hook on here that would go in and hook up like that, it still just flops down. So then I got the idea of, like, well, I could just wedge something under there, that would work. But there's also the deal of you have the cable management issue. So you have a cable coming out of here, going to this 12-pin port. 12-pin? 15-pin. For the 12 volts video and ground. So I didn't like the idea of like fumbling with this, and then you have to plug in this extra thing separate. So let's get rid of that, and I'll show you. Basically, this is like the finished version of the monitor. You can see that I have a little cutout here that this fits right into. Theoretically, oh, it's already in. These are, I was experimenting with there's 3 potentiometers that you can mount right there on the board. They adjust like brightness. I think it's brightness, contrast, and color, something like that. And I will be hot gluing this together just so that it doesn't fall apart while I'm using it. But I wanted to show the inside of this first. So basically I just have this panel here with the cord coming out of it. And I made this. This actually is not the final version of this, but I didn't feel like reprinting it because I had an arm coming off of here, which you'll see in a moment. But I cut that off because I liked having it mounted from the center of this. So this basically is a DB15 shroud that I made. And at first I had 2 halves of this shroud. Do I have any? Here it is. Here's the other half. So the other half would sandwich on top of it, and I put all these little protrusions and sockets for them to go into. So you really don't even need the screws to hold it together. Right, so this has a little channel for cable management, and that plugs right in there. So now it has this part, which is basically flush with the top of this, and I made a new version of this monitor support with some holes in it. And the idea here is put some 1/4-20 taps in there, put the monitor on here, shove the pins in to hold it. And now I have a single unit that I can unplug if I want to. I can put this away, carrying or not. Put that there. It's nice and sturdy. I can pivot it around, and it looks a little silly having such a tiny monitor. Have a lot of projects going on here, which is why all of that's up. But it does work. Works pretty well. It's a little small, but you know, that's fine. It's still totally readable. So yeah, that is my tiny 3D printable, tiny 3D printable monitor. I can pivot it up and down, I can turn it left and right, and there we go. Have a good one. Bye.